Hi, and welcome to this introductory video tutorial for VisionServer. VisionServer is a solution platform for machine vision applications. It allows users to quickly and easily develop, test, and then deploy complete applications. In this video, I'm going to introduce the VisionServer development environment and then demonstrate how to create a very simple image processing application using the aForge toolkit. What you can see on the screen is the VisionServer project launcher. It allows users to create new or load existing projects. For this tutorial, we will start with a blank project. On the screen now is the VisionServer development environment. The development environment can be configured to the user's preference. In my case, I like to be able to see both the properties and toolbox at the same time. So I'll just go ahead and drag that over here. The development environment is divided into a number of sections. On the right here we have a toolbox and a property sheet. At the bottom here we have an event log and also an error list. At the top we have our menu, our quick search box, and a set of tool actions on the toolbar. In the center we have our document editor, in this case an HMI page which we're going to edit later. The most important part of the development environment is on the left, the Application Explorer. The Application Explorer shows the current contents of my application. The Application Explorer is divided into different sections. The System section, which contains alarms, recipes, tags and users. The Pages section, where we can define HMI pages to configure. The Scripting section, where we can define small pieces of script code that can be reused and executed on data change, on key press, or just added as a reusable library. We also have data sources, where we can configure multiple SQLite databases for logging, querying, and archiving. Tasks are where we define the image processing sequences of our application, and we'll go over that in detail later. Components are reusable objects that provide a specific functionality, like a timer or a shift register. Devices is where VisionServer displays all available communications options. VisionServer will automatically detect devices that are available on the network or plugged in to the computer's ports. In this case, we have 2 webcams and an OPC server. Now that we've had an overview of the development environment, we can get started on creating our first image processing application. To start with, we'll connect to one of our webcams on our computer, in this case the Microsoft LifeCam. I can connect to it by right-clicking and selecting Connect. This gives me a property sheet where I can fill in the details that I want to connect to the camera with. In this case, I'll give the camera a name. I'll specify the index, which is the camera that I want to connect to, and I'll specify a video width and height. So in this case, 640 by 480. I can also leave those as 0 to use the default. You can see over in the left We're now successfully connected to the web camera. Now that I'm connected to my web camera, I need to add a sequence where I can add my image processing steps. So I'll do that by going to Project and selecting New Task. You can see here in the Application Explorer it's created a task with a subsequence, and it's opened the sequence in the document editor. I can now go to my toolbox over on the right and add my camera by dragging and dropping into my sequence. I can run the sequence once by clicking the Run button. You can see here it gives me an acquisition time for the camera, and also if I mouse over the pin output I can visualize an image of what the webcam has taken. In this case it's a picture of my desk. I can navigate the sequence editor by using my mouse. The mouse wheel zooms out and in. I can pan by holding the right mouse button and dragging, and I can select an object by using the left click. I can also get a context menu of options for that block by right clicking. Now that I've acquired my image, I would actually like to do some image processing on it. So I'm going to go back to my toolbox on the right, go to the Vision category. In this case we're using the AForge toolkit, so I'll go down into that, and I'll select, in this case, a canny edge tool, or maybe a motion detector. So I'll drag that on. So you can see that the camera has a single output pin and the motion detector has a single input pin. So I'm going to drag from the left here and connect it to the right. And now my pins are connected. I can test my sequence again by clicking the Run button. The sequence will always run left to right. So in this case the camera block will execute before the motion detector block. And I can mouse over the output pins and see a blank motion image, which is expected, and a motion level of 0. If I click Run again, I can test it and see that I have an object in my image, and now my motion detector image shows the difference. The visualization of data on the pins is a very useful way to see what your image processing algorithm is doing. You can see at each step the results of your image processing and your calculations. I can select the motion detector block, and you can see I have a property on the motion detector block where I can change the way the motion is detected by either 2-frame difference or background modeling. In this case I'll leave it as 2-frame difference. Now that I've got my image processing algorithm, I want to create a simple user interface that I can control and view my image processing algorithm. So I'm going to go back to the pages and select my page. I can navigate my pages in the similar way that I can navigate my sequences. The mouse wheel to zoom in and out. I can right click and drag to pan, and I can left click selects. I also have a toolbox on the right hand side containing all my available controls, and I have a property sheet underneath, and at the moment there's no control selected, so I don't see anything. Because this is an image processing algorithm, I want to add an image viewer. So I can go to my Vision toolbox, select the Vision image viewer component and drag it onto the page. I can then resize it and move it to where I want it to be in the application page. Now that I've created my image viewer, I now have to tell it where to display the image from. So in this case, I'm going to go to my property sheet, navigate down to the Common section and specify the source. You can see here how it has a grey dot. That means that this property can be animated. So if I click on the grey dot, it opens up the expression editor. And from the expression editor, I need to tell it where the data for this property is coming from. So in this case, it's coming from our camera. So I can either use the add tag button, or I can use the autocomplete by pressing the special $ character, which gives me a list of all available data. And you can see here I have camera.image, which is the image from our camera. I'll just select that one and click accept. So now you can see that the source binding has gone green, so that's connected. So now I want to test my application user interface, so I can go project and then test project. And you can see here that's my live video all animated on the screen. And I can close my test mode by clicking the cross here, and that takes me straight back to the development environment where I can go back to changing my page. So I've now got a page which can show me my camera image, but I actually want to see the output of my motion detector, my motion image. So what I need to do is create a global variable, or tag as it's called in VisionServer, to store that variable in it. And so I've gone to Tag Manager, and I can create a new tag. So I'm going to call this motion image, and my data type is going to be an image. Now that I press enter, I'm also going to create a variable to store my motion level, and so I'll call it motion level. And I know that's a numeric value and it's a floating point, so it's a double. I'll go enter. So now when I go back to my sequence, I can take the outputs of these pins, being the motion image and the motion level, and right click on the pin and say assign to tag. I get a list and I want to assign it to motion image. So double click, and I'll do the same for motion level. Motion level. So now when I run the sequence, it's going to do the processing and store the values of the results in those variables. Now I can go back to my page and create an image viewer to display the motion image and motion level. But before I do that, I need to specify when I want my sequence to run. So when I right click on the task and select edit, I actually have multiple modes of operation. So in my case, I have it in manual mode, which means I have to manually tell it to execute. But what I actually want is for it to run every time the camera acquires. So I'm going to select event, and then I'm going to select camera image acquired. So now, when in run mode, this image processing sequence will run every time the image is acquired from the camera. So now I'll go back to my page, and I'll add another image viewer to display my motion image. I'll just click both of these, and I can use the toolbars up the top, make same size, and align to the top. So now I'll select this one on the right, select the source again. In this case, I don't want it to come from camera image, I want it to come from motion image. So I'll right click on that one, accept. The binding is now created. And now if I go to test mode, now through the toolbar, you'll see I get my motion image and my normal image side by side. Great. So now I'll go back to my development mode, and I'll pan back to my part of my page. And what I want to also do is show the motion level. So I can do that by showing a text label. I'll put it down here. I'll make the size a bit bigger. I'll make that bigger, like that. and what I want is for the text of the label to be the motion level that my sequence is calculating. So I'll click the grey dot, the binding, and I do the same thing, $, and then I get my autocomplete list, and now I'll select motion level. So now when I go back to test mode, I'll get 0, and you can see the number changes as the objects move. Oh. And now I'm back in development mode. So I've created a very simple application, and now I'm going to save it. So I'm going to give my project a name. I'm going to call it Intro Demo. Accept. So now that will save my project, and now I can reload this configuration later. That's all we have time for in this video. More tutorial videos, sample applications, and sample code will be available on our website, VisionServerFramework.com, at a later date. Thanks for watching this VisionServer tutorial.